Let's go ahead and move on to the next fight on the card. We've got Kevin Holland taking on Michal Oleksiejczuk. And I shared a lot of videos about this fight on Twitter as well. And what was I sharing? I was sharing the fact that, at 185 pounds, this guy, Kevin Holland, has some power. He's put guys away. He's landed big knockout shots. Joaquin Buckley, the talk of the town, the next welterweight prospect, he got delivered. He got hit with a right hand so bad, his mouthpiece flew out into the air. One of the most picturesque knockouts, and nobody seems to like that one as much as me. Then when you're talking about, on the other side, Michal Oleksiejczuk, he got rocked, almost put away by Chidi Njokuani, and he stood in the pocket. He continued to throw. He's not afraid to brawl. So you know that both these guys have knockout power. We know that Kevin Holland went down to the welterweight class. He tried to find new life there, and it wasn't really working out for him. The problem that he always had at 185 wasn't his striking, right? His problem was his wrestling and his grappling was not holding up against the physical challenges of guys like Khamzat Chimaev. Granted, that was a catchweight bout. You just saw the differential in their strength and physicality between those two men. And now Chimaev obviously moving up to 185 pounds. Then you look at the fact that, other guys, my guy Derek Brunson, Gibbs Gang, a guy who was a college wrestler, was able to pick him up, take him down, return him to the mat, put him in bad situations. And it all was to do with the physicality, right? He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's not completely incompetent in the wrestling. And at 170, that was not his problem, right? He wasn't getting systemically out-wrestled and out-grappled. His problem was his power wasn't translating as much. His speed advantage was not as pronounced. And so a lot of things that made him dynamic and special at 185 were a lot more average at 170. He's fighting a high quality of competition in a division where the average level, I would say, is a little bit higher. The average level of athleticism, I would say, is a little bit higher as well. So when I'm looking at a matchup like this, I'm not going to be as long-winded with some of this breakdown as I will for some of those other fights, right? Like the main and the co-main event, I thought they deserved a lot of focus and attention. Michal Oleksiejczuk, for me, has to prove that he still wants to be here before I could consider betting on him. What am I talking about? I'll give you a pass for losing a fight to Michel de Molador Pereira via first-round submission, right? It just happened to Ihor Potieria as well. It can happen, right? You can get caught, you can get finished. But for me, I had a feeling that was coming, and it was because he left his camp. He was not with a real training camp. He was working with a couple of pro fighters. He was working with a couple of local guys, and it didn't seem to me like he was taking it all that serious. And when you're doing that, when you're kind of phoning it in for a fight, then it makes sense what happened to Michel de Molador Pereira, right? He kind of just went out there, got hurt with the first shot of the fight, gave up his back, got finished, and didn't really offer much resistance. And I think that when I'm looking at this fight, I say to myself, Kevin Holland, who's been on hard times, but guys, he went to a split decision with Jack Della Maddalena, right? Like he's fighting high quality competitors to very close fights, just not getting over the hump, just having a really tough time separating himself from some of his opponents. So I think Michal Oleksiejczuk right now is on cut watch. Like I think he needs to really get some momentum back under his belt and some wins back under his belt, or he's going to have a hard time, finding work in the UFC, because I just don't believe that we saw his best effort in his training camp last time. And unless he's made some, he was training with Ankos MMA in the past, and that was a good camp. Now he's just training by himself, doing his thing. I'm going to do an Instagram stock. I'm going to, try and make sure I have all my ducks in a row. But for me, this feels like they're trying to get Kevin Holland right. I think they're trying to get Kevin Holland to win. I think that he has advantages in terms of speed. I think that the power is something that could go both ways. I think the durability is there for both guys, but I do think that, Lord Oleksiejczuk, has been getting hurt a little bit more since he went to 185. And I don't think that Kevin Holland is a bankable guy in the minus 250 range, period, point blank, because of the fight IQ. Shout out to Dick's Insider, says Kevin Holland, worst fight IQ ever, refuses to proactively wrestle in grappling. He's unbettable. I think that the truth is you have to be very strategic with how you bet Kevin Holland. I have been very profitable betting Kevin Holland fights. I've been very good at predicting Kevin Holland fights as well. And, even some of these recent fights, I predicted that Michael Venom-Page was going to defeat him. Now Michael Venom-Page is in a very serious mainstream fight, against Ian Gary during International Fight Week. So he's not a scrub. He's not a bum. I think that what people have mistaken is that because Kevin is losing to really good strikers at 170, he can't compete at the striking at 185. I think he can. And I think in the grappling, this is a mismatch, frankly. In terms of both the size and the length, like when you look at how Kevin's body is built, he's built better to grapple than somebody like Oleksiejczuk. And I think that he's actually, way more talented and knowledgeable and sophisticated on the mat as well. So I think if Kevin has a brain, he will grapple this guy. And I think that if he doesn't, he might knock him out by mistake because Kevin is a heavy-handed guy. I think he's going to have a little bit more speed than Oleksiejczuk. I think he's going to find the target early and often in this fight. So for me, it's a really weird spot, but my lean is towards Kevin Holland inside the distance. So again, not advocating laying minus 250 with Kevin, but just got to call it like I see it. And I think that Michal Oleksiejczuk, unless he's changed a lot about his training camp, he's just not putting himself in a position to succeed.